Broadcasting from the Business RadioX studio in Alpharetta, it's time for ProfitSense with Bill McDermott.
Good morning. Welcome to ProfitSense. This podcast dives into the stories behind some of Atlanta's successful businesses and business owners and the professionals that advise them. We help local business leaders get the word out about the important work they're doing to serve their market, their community, and their profession. I'm your host, Bill McDermott, and this show is presented by McDermott Financial Solutions. When business owners want to increase their revenue, they often don't have the expertise to know where to start or what to do. Bill McDermott leverages his knowledge and relationships from 32 years in banking to identify the hurdles getting in the way and creates a plan to increase profitability and cash flow. We have two great guests on the show today. Nancy Pridgen with Pridgen Bassett Law. Welcome to ProfitSense.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
And Bill Foley with Foley Design. Welcome to ProfitSense. So glad to have you on the show.
Thank you, Bill. Pleasure to be here.
Nancy, let's start with you. So I believe you and I met through Casey Gartner with Northwestern.
Yes.
We've been working together for a brief time now. People throw around the term ERISA, but a lot of people don't understand what it is. So tell our audience, what is ERISA and why should our audience care about it?
Absolutely, Bill. And thanks for having me on. ERISA is an acronym. It stands for Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And it is the federal statute that governs all private employers' benefits that they provide to their employees. So even though retirement is in the title, it's not just retirement or pension benefits. It includes welfare benefits, including health, disability, dental, severance, just about any type of benefit that is provided by an employer that is not a government entity or a church to its employees. And it's an important part of the legal landscape these days as we travel through some unprecedented times. It is important for business owners to understand that their benefits that they provide to their employees are governed by overarching federal law. So that's what ERISA is.
Wow. So that is something, and I want to hear more about that. But first, I'd really like to hear the story of how you and Leslie Bassett started the firm. So tell us a little bit about how you and Leslie have developed your experience and expertise.
Absolutely. So that takes us way back many, many moons ago. Leslie Bassett and I were in the ERISA litigation practice group at a well-known Atlanta firm, Alston & Bird, and we spent many years there exploring ERISA litigation deep and wide. It included class action lawsuits, the defense of class action lawsuits on behalf of Fortune 500 to Fortune 100 companies, as well as benefit claims on behalf of national insurers. So Leslie and I met way back in the day and have always wanted to practice law together. Leslie went on to King & Spalding for several years, and then I branched out and started my own firm. And when the time was right, I was able to lure Leslie away from King & Spalding, and she and I now have our long-awaited partnership, Pridgen Bassett Law.
Yeah, that is a great story. So this is really kind of a realization of a dream that both of you had earlier in your careers.
Absolutely. And we really had no idea so many years ago that, it would come to fruition. We certainly went down parallel paths, although different paths, and stayed friends. But, working with doing ERISA litigation for deserving folks who need advice on ERISA but cannot pay big firm rates was always something that we, talked about and finally made happen.
Well, and I'm sure that in the current market, which you alluded to earlier, people, employment, separation, a lot of that is going on with COVID-19 and just the general recession that we have going on right now. So talk a little bit about who your typical client is, what are your target clients like, and what are their needs?
So that's a great question, Bill. We actually have 3 different types of clients, and we really like the balance that we have. One of our types of clients, obviously, is companies that have benefit plans and or need employment advice for managing their business. So those can be small employers. We've got employers with just had some medium-sized clients, which I would say would be 50 to 150 employees. And in our ERISA litigation, we also have a Fortune 100 tech company that we represent nationally. So those are our companies that we represent. We really enjoy that process. We also represent individuals, including business owners, executives, C-level folks, key employees of businesses that are generally in a transition most of the time between leaving one employer and starting another, maybe leaving one business and starting their own. And they need advice on contracts and benefit plans. Certainly the executives will need some advice and analysis of their executive comp packages, and we enjoy representing those folks and helping them through their analysis of what's going to be next in their lives. And in addition to companies and individuals, we do have a part of our business where we represent and help personal injury attorneys with subrogation matters. Subrogation is a interesting part of the law under ERISA and under the insurance laws, where a company who has a benefit plan, like a health benefit plan, if they pay out money on behalf of one of their insureds and the insured recovers a personal injury settlement, then the benefit plan wants to recoup what it's paid out for those benefits. And Leslie and I help generally injured participants who are represented by PI attorneys either get those liens waived or substantially compromised. So that's the third typical person who seeks out our advice.
You have really carved out a fascinating niche for yourself.
Indeed, we love our niche. As I said, we represent businesses and employees. We also are on both sides of the V in terms of cases. We represent people who are being sued and people who are suing. And, thankfully, we're very thankful for the experience that we got while we were at Alston, Bird and King and Spalding that helps us bring the value of big law advice to folks who are not in a position to pay big law rates.
Sure. Well, and I can see how having perspective, having worked on both sides of an issue, both for an employee and for an employer, certainly gives you a unique perspective into some of these matters. And I know you do some public speaking on these topics. Do you have any speaking engagements coming up?
Absolutely. So Leslie and I are both speaking at the Georgia Bar's annual employee benefits section, CLE. That's coming up in September. It had to be rescheduled from March because of the COVID issues that came up in March. but we're excited about the speaking opportunity there. And also, I'm doing a webinar in early August. These will be posted on our website. The webinar in early August is about wrongful denial of ERISA benefits and the laws that have been, the cases that have been interpreting and applying the laws under ERISA in the last year or so.
So I'm sure that COVID has impacted your clients. It seems like it's impacting just about everything in the marketplace these days. Can you speak a little bit on how COVID has impacted your clients and their needs and how it has impacted?
Sure. So COVID, as we know, once the pandemic started, Congress reacted with some federal laws that required some additional efforts from employers. And we, of course, on behalf of our employer clients and business owners, we provided and continue to provide advice about how to deal with the, emergency paid sick leave and the Families First Corona Act and the CARES Act that provided certain benefits to employees for employers who had more than 50 employees but less than 500. So we've helped guide our employers through those laws, and we've seen the impact on employees as well. Certainly, lots of people being furloughed or laid off during this time. There's lots of questions, of course, about unemployment, which we can handle, as well as transitional questions. And we've been called in on both sides to help navigate the waters of a post-COVID world.
Sure. And it's a world of uncertainty right now.
Definitely.
Now, in the short time I've known you, you and Leslie are both ambitious. The firm is growing. Do you have any professional goals that you'd like to share?
We do. First and foremost, we've found that not only our business, but other businesses benefit from a focused effort on networking. And so we have made that one of our important goals, that we will be exploring networking in a more focused and intentional way in this year as we move on and move up with our business. And in addition, we have found that our services are in demand and we need to hire a new attorney. So we are looking forward to finding the right candidate for that spot. We're definitely interested in folks who either have an ERISA background or an employment law background, not necessarily both. We can teach one or the other, but we're certainly looking forward to finding the right candidate for the position to help us grow Pridgen Bassett Law as we move on.
Well, I know given what's going on in the legal profession, certainly there's some consolidations. Certainly there are some firms that aren't doing as others, so possibly layoffs. And so I have no doubt that person will surface. And I'm certainly excited about the growth prospects that you and Leslie and Pridgen Bassett Law have. If someone would like to get in touch with you, Leslie, or the firm, what are some of the best ways for a potential client or just someone seeking information to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So we have a presence on the internet. We have our PridgenBassett.com website. We also have our individual LinkedIn profiles. Folks can certainly look us up through LinkedIn and connect with us that way. We also have a Facebook page at Pridgen Bassett Law. And certainly they can call the firm. The number for the firm is on the website. And it's sort of funny. It's an ERISA number. We got a personalized number that ends in ERISA.
I like that.
So 47033 ERISA. And we're certainly happy to speak with anyone and anyone who might think they need our services or want to connect in a networking position or, want to apply for the job.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show. This aspect of the law is especially critical during this time with human resources issues coming due to the pandemic. I'm excited for you and for Leslie and the firm about your growth plans and about your future. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
And now I'm going to turn to Bill Foley with Foley Design. Bill, welcome. So glad that you're on the show this morning. And I want to start with a question. Obviously, part of what's going on everyone's minds is COVID. So how is the current effect of COVID affecting the design of healthcare, studio, office, and other designs on the future of development projects?
It's had a great impact. And watching, the commercial market and being involved in several of the healthcare sides. We've worked with Pruitt Health for really coming out of the recession in 2008 and 2009, and we're fortunate enough to work with them, one of the largest skilled care providers in the southeastern United States. And we've had to go in and find ways physically to provide filtration systems, to provide separation, and alter the mechanical systems of buildings to allow the containment of COVID and the separation, and enhance the ability of the healthcare providers. We've been, ever since the pandemic started, out helping modify and rework and get new standards in place to make those safer. And on the production studio side and office side, we've worked for years in the studio business worldwide. And they are facing what is just a multiple layer effect of how they've done business over the years. And we've been working operationally and then involving in new design on the new studios, ways to separate the crews to avoid double handling of equipment. They're bringing safety officers in. Again, we are adding mechanical systems and filtration systems, as well as cleaning and fogging systems between shoots to allow that to happen. And we're in the process of designing, again, 3 different international studios right now. And that aspect is starting to turn more towards a electronic media, what we call smart stages, which don't involve the big crews. They involve a lot more using computer, using tablets for, so there are no paper scripts anymore, but setting up virtual studios, which don't require the larger sets. It reduces the staff size. It reduces the timing on the movies. And you're going to see a lot of that coming. Lion King, several movies that people would know and not know they were shot that way have been done and are in way. We're in process of doing one stage right now that'll come on in Atlanta early next year, one up in Toronto and one over in Dublin, Ireland. But they're all, again, in production, moving towards that new technology. And it is a byproduct that's accelerating because of COVID. So,
Bill, you not only bring a depth of experience. Your business started in 91, so you'll celebrate 30 years in business next year. And I know you had a career before that, but you also bring a sense of not only the national market, but the international market, because you do business with companies in the U.S., but also abroad. So I'm interested in your perspective. How is the world market moving forward with the impact of development, and what markets are moving forward?
Well, it's pretty interesting that we were fortunate to have gotten in and have been involved in studio production for years, and in healthcare and in senior living. And one thing that we have found is recession-proof. There is a shortage of senior housing all over the United States.
Sure.
But from a economic standpoint, one thing that's virtually recession-proof is the movie and television production business. People, even during the Depression, would pay money to go and see a movie to escape, to see outside. Now that's streaming, but it's still there, and there's still facilities worldwide that are scrambling to produce content and get out on the market. So that has actually exploded, and right now, worldwide, particularly in the studio business, everybody is scrambling to try to have facilities ready to come out of COVID and be able to produce everything that's been sitting there for months at a time. And they're booking up 5 years ahead of time right now. So that particular portion of the business is exploding. Commercial, obviously, is slowing down, especially retail.
Sure.
There's so much empty space out there. And for offices, the new norm is going to be just completely opposite of what's happened over the last 2 or 3 years. I would say like the NCR building here in Atlanta. We didn't design, but it was designed for shared use and smaller workstations next to each other so that staff could work in and commute. That part we're finding more and more. You're going to see more and more working 2 days or working remotely and limiting the amount of space. But the office space, we used to figure it 200 square feet per person in a normal office. That was pushing downwards towards maybe 160 square feet with some of the corporate entities. And now that's just going back the other way. You're getting back up into maybe 300 plus feet in order to get the separation and the distancing to make those work. So there's a vast change happening, and everyone is just starting to react to it. And we're seeing, again, the remote office layout, which severely impacts some businesses just can't survive. Like I said, a carpenter can't work remotely.
Sure.
Just some things that just don't work that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of ours in design, a lot of it can be done remotely, but a lot of it still needs some face-to-face or physically being able to get out and work in the field, especially when we're interfacing with construction jobs. So new practices, but everybody's starting to adapt.
So talking a little bit about the outlook and the future, what do you see as the responding markets and the project types moving forward?
Well, we are right now have several projects like hotel projects that are on a pause, waiting to see how it's going to move forward. But on the other side, the senior living market has been so short for so long that there is just a great demand of facilities. They are just being modified to meet the COVID, the separation, and how they're working. which will continue. And that side is still booming. People are still trying to get in and work with it. And as I said, the studio side is absolutely going crazy. But the other we're seeing is a shift from the urban density, the high rise and the residential packing that happened over the years, to spreading back out, and you're seeing a drive back commercially to the residential market, going back into the suburbs. People getting out of the high traffic area. And on a real simple note, restaurants are going to more and more open outdoor seating, and will because it's a safer way to work.
So, positioned on the world market, how do you see the future in design? And maybe talk a little bit about what can be done to avoid the downturns of the commercial and retail markets.
Well, we had, and I've been fortunate to have survived 93 and 2008.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And my staff has been worked up the added collective experience of our firm. Most of my partners have been with me for right from the beginning, 28, 29 years. Wow. We have, I think, 100 years plus collectively with just the staff we have right now of architectural experience.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Pre 2008, and we hit a shift, but we spread out in building types. And 2008 killed the golf market. We were doing golf clubs and hospitality communities all over the country. We had to reinvent ourselves back in 2009, and we did. But we have branched into areas that are still growing. So we're fortunate in that, again, being in senior living, being in healthcare, being in studio production, and we have some hospitality, hotel work we're still doing that we think is going to rebound. It's allowed us to work in multiple fields that nothing's recession-proof, but it's allowed us the flexibility to keep design staff up and going. And I think what we have offered for years, which separates us and why we still have a very strong client base, is that we bring value through the design to the different projects. But it's not about just doing a cheap design. It's about understanding the needs of the client, how to respond. You just said a little while ago for COVID. We're working with existing clients right now. For instance, Peachtree Hills. We're just getting ready to open a senior community up with the Isaacson family we've been working with for 18 years now, Peachtree Hills. But now we're back revising things to work with the opening, even as the final construction is in place, to modify it, to make it more adaptable for COVID. So bringing that, being responsive and really doing a little bit more on the functionality and what we can do to help operational costs and provide basically value through the design process has led us through several of these slow times and allowed us to thrive. Consider us very lucky to still be here. We have not had to lay anybody off through the recession. We actually brought another architect on 2 weeks ago, and we'll probably be adding 2 more staff over the next month.
So just reflecting on that a little bit, Bill, 30 years in the firm's been in business next year, multiple people on your team, long-term relationships with coworkers, long-term relationships with clients. It really sounds to me like you've found a recipe for success. I want to ask you what positions Foley Design to assist developers in moving forward in the local and in the international economy?
Well, I am slowly transitioning, and I'll say my point right now with Foley Design is mentoring and training the principals, the architects, interior designers, planners we've got with us to move forward. And we've always set those values of working one-to-one with the client base and making them successful in that. We're continuing to do that. And as I train, we're bringing each one of the owners in, and we have the new generation of architects and designers working with each of them. So they'll transition out and hopefully just keep right on building and learning. But we value the people, we value the team, and the clients, and that's really above and taking that on again moving forward. We've kept our size a firm too. We've been up much larger, but we sit at about 28 people right now, and that is about as large as we really want to be. We have turned down a lot of clients just to bring work in and take it through, so that we could stay personally involved with each one of the projects, with our staff. And that's, I think, a lesson I learned from engineer. One of the first years we were working is it didn't matter if you're one person or 10 or 100. You can make just as much money and do just as much of a good job with 10 people as you can with 100. And sure. And it's that personal involvement and meeting the clients and making the friends that we get with that client base over the years that keeps work coming.
And so I've always held the view that when you're shopping for professional services, people really buy differences. They don't buy similarities. So why should developers want to work with Foley Design as they venture forward in a different economy and a questionable future?
Because we can achieve their goals in their mind through the design a lot better than just getting somebody to come in and put a set of plans together. Understanding their business and how to reduce their operating costs and how to really bring a better value. And I would use the studios as an example. We are just a couple people that are experts on studio design. And the difference in, for instance, Pinewood Studios here in Atlanta, when we put the stages together, the studio used for Marvel or for one of the film companies coming in, we have increased the efficiency and reduced their costs through understanding how they work and making the physical space more flexible. So lighting company doesn't spend as much time. The set building companies don't set time, and it saves them money and allows again the studios to make charge more rent or be more productive with the expensive time of shooting. So that applies to all of the different areas like healthcare and that in the business. It's understanding the business side as well as what you can do in the physical design to improve their operations and the quality of life in the case of seniors and some of the operations in the healthcare.
So this time has been great, Bill. If someone wants to get in touch with you or the firm, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Well, we're on the website, Foley Design, but the best way is really to email me. I'm Bill Foley at foleydesign.com. I believe still in answering the phone for everybody that matters and making contact.
Good for you.
But running through a third party just never quite gets there. And we like to again have that interface with everybody. And I'm better at a phone call than I am at a text or something any day of the week.
Very good. Well, Bill Foley, Foley Design, thank you so much for coming on ProfitSense today. Nancy Pridgen with Pridgen Bassett Law just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show as well. If you want to keep up with the latest in pro business news, follow us on social media for the latest stories. If you want to listen to future ProfitSense podcasts, you can find us on ProfitSenseRadio.com. This is ProfitSense with Bill McDermott signing off. Make it a great day.